Welcome to the TOEFL Listening section. In this part, you will hear one or more conversations in an academic or campus context, such as a discussion between a student and a professor, or between two students. You may take notes while listening. Listen to part of a conversation. You will hear it only once, so listen carefully. After the conversation, you will answer questions about what you heard. Some questions will ask you about main ideas and details. Others will ask about implied meaning, speaker attitude, or how ideas relate to one another. Use both what is stated and what is implied to answer.
Good afternoon, Dr. Alvarez. Thank you for meeting me during office hours to discuss my thesis on post-quantum encryption methods.
Good afternoon, Marcus. Tell me which aspects you want to focus on: standardization, implementations, or security assumptions.
I want to compare candidate families that are resistant to quantum computers and pick a couple for experimental benchmarks.
That is sensible. NIST has been central in standardizing post-quantum cryptography, and they shortlisted algorithms from lattice-based, code-based, multivariate, hash-based, and isogeny-based families.
I read that lattice-based schemes like the Crystal Suite are leading candidates because they balance speed and key sizes. Is that correct?
Yes, lattice-based constructions derived from learning with errors problems, such as Crystal's Kyber for key encapsulation and Crystal's dilithium for signatures, have strong reductions and efficient implementations.
How do they compare to code-based schemes like Macaleese in practice?
Code-based schemes are very conservative and have been studied for decades, but their public keys are often much larger than lattice-based keys, which affects bandwidth and storage.
So, large public keys would be a problem for devices with limited memory and for protocols that exchange keys frequently.
Exactly. That is why you should measure memory usage and transmission overhead when you benchmark. Also consider hash-based signatures like SPHINCS+, which have small public keys but large signatures.
What about isogeny-based methods? Their mathematics seemed elegant, but I heard some candidates were broken.
Isogeny-based schemes offered small key sizes, but some candidates were cryptanalyzed and weaknesses found. That demonstrates why conservative analysis and diverse families are important.
When you say diverse families, do you mean implementations should support more than one algorithm type?
Yes, a migration strategy that supports multiple algorithm families mitigates the risk that a new attack will compromise a single family.
I plan to implement hybrid key exchange for TLS in my experiment, combining a classical algorithm with a post-quantum one.
That is a current best practice. Hybrid schemes combine a classical algorithm such as ECDH with a post-quantum algorithm to preserve security if one primitive fails.
For benchmarks, should I compare latency and throughput? Or are there other important metrics for post-quantum algorithms?
Measure latency and throughput, yes, but also key generation cost, signature sizes, ciphertext sizes, memory, and resistance to side channel leaks in implementation.
Side channel resistance seems difficult to evaluate. Do you recommend specific tests?
You can instrument power and timing measurements on a microcontroller and look for correlations with secret-dependent operations. Constant time implementations reduce timing leakage.
Should my paper include a discussion on parameter choices for security levels against quantum adversaries?
Yes, include parameters corresponding to NIST security categories, and explain the assumptions about quantum resources such as the number of logical qubits and gate complexity.
How do security reductions help in choosing algorithms to study?
Security reductions provide a formal link between the hardness of mathematical problems, like learning with errors, and the algorithm security. They do not guarantee absolute safety, but give confidence under those assumptions.
Could you suggest two concrete algorithms for my implementation tests that represent different trade-offs?
Yes, implement a lattice-based algorithm such as Crystal's Kyber to represent efficiency, and a code-based algorithm inspired by Macaulay's to show key size trade-offs.
And for signatures, should I use dilithium and a hash-based scheme like SPHINCS Plus to compare signature size and verification speed?
That would illustrate differences well. Dilithium provides compact signatures and fast verification, whereas hash-based schemes have different trade-offs and state management issues in some variants.
You mentioned state management. Does that mean some signature schemes require careful tracking of used keys?
Yes, certain hash-based stateful signatures require strict management to avoid reuse of one-time keys, which could destroy security in practice.
For real-world applications, which areas need urgent migration to post-quantum methods?
Data with long confidentiality requirements, such as archived medical records, government secrets, and some cryptographic keys in the cloud, should be migrated sooner because retroactive decryption is a concern.
That makes sense. Information that must remain secret for decades is at risk if adversaries store ciphertext now and decrypt later with a quantum computer.
Exactly. Also consider constrained devices and IoT where bandwidth and CPU are limited. Some post-quantum schemes are heavy and require hardware acceleration to be viable.
For my experiments, I will include a Raspberry Pi and a cloud VM to show differences in resource-constrained and server environments.
Good plan. Make sure to record actual CPU usage, memory, and network overhead for each algorithm and include reproducible code.
One more question. How should I present the risk assessment of each method in my thesis?
Compare mathematical maturity, known cryptanalysis, implementation vulnerabilities, and ecosystem readiness. Recommend hybrid deployment for critical use cases during transition.
Thank you. That gives me a clear structure. I will prepare initial benchmarks and a draft risk matrix for our next meeting.
Very well, Marcus. Bring your experimental plan and preliminary results, and we will refine the scope and discuss possible conference publications.
I appreciate your guidance. I will also document library choices so reviewers can reproduce my experiments.
Excellent. Focus on reproducibility and clear explanation of why each post-quantum method was chosen.
Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Recommend hybrid deployment for critical use cases during transition.
This concludes the conversation portion. For more TOEFL practice tests and study materials, visit spinta.org.